Alright, so now I will show you how we can print all these values. Because of now, we only printed static text. Nothing changes in these. There are a couple of ways we can write a variable. For the convenience, we can see that we can just append a value and it will show up. We can do the same for this one. Press F5 and we will get 100. Yeah, we will play around later on with formatting to see the sense and stuff. But yeah, this is the first way. So you might be wondering how we would print out a static text as well as a variable. So what you need to do, um, you can just write down, let's say my name is not Slim Shady, of course, uh, but you can write it like this. Basically, what will it do? You will ask the console to print you this text and append this. So write line will execute only after it appends. So everything that is inside will work just the same way as in math. First, it will operate on everything that is inside. So it just adds my name is plus name. Let's say we want to append even more. We could add additional string, let's say favorite card, and let's be trendy and pick Ace of Hearts. Um, then we can also add additional text for this one, which would look something like this if we wanted to write our favorite card. Basically this. As you can see, we can chain as many as we want, and if we press F5, we can actually see the whole text really nicely and neatly in here. So what else we can do? There are other ways to do the same. You might choose one or the other. We can write in the same text, like here, and tell the console that this is the first element that we want to insert. Remember, computer usually reads elements from 0. So 0 in computer terms is usually the first one. So if I say my uh, my first favorite number is 5, this means that it's my first favorite number. My second favorite number would be, and stuff like that. Um, just remember that the 0 was created because it's required for array indexing, and it's a lot more performant, and it was created mainly due to performance, because it would have been very hard to put everything into integer if we excluded the 0. Anyway, so just by writing this one, you say that you want to print out the first element, which is name. So if we press F5, you can see that the first element was displayed. And we can also do the same with this part. It looks a bit more clean, I could say that for sure. Uh, and each time you add something, you just need to add, increase an index, basically. Now we can see it's the same text, just in different format. If you might be asking what happens if we write this. This will call the same first element. So remember, the element that specifies the number is the one that you have designated here, and order matters. This one is always the first element. This one is the second element. Uh, and WriteLine has a lot of overloads. Overloads basically means that you can put different kinds of parameters inside. And the one that we are using here, you might got confused when you saw that we just put a comma here and then a parameter, a comma here, then parameter. These are called arguments. And WriteLine, as you can see, requires first argument as a string, which is our text. Other arguments are just appending ones, so we can add up to 17 keywords here. Whatever you want to add here. Okay, if you have any questions, just write them in the comments. And my favorite, it's the newest. It is called interpolated strings. Basically, you write this dollar sign, and now you can do these tricks. It's really clean, really easy to see, and when you compile, it just shows you this information. Uh, this one might require you to write it differently when we learn concepts such as logging, but for now and for console applications, it's super good and super easy to navigate. So now that we learned how to display our variables, we should learn how to get information from the user, because right now it's quite boring. Let's see, if I click F5, you just get text, no interactivity at all. So we know that we have one interactive command already that we learned. It's read key, which waits for the user to type in anything, pretty much click any button. There is another thing that we can add. Uh, let's say right now we have our name set to Edvinas, or your name. I don't think that's very dynamic, and I don't want every player to be Edvinas. I would prefer the player to have a bit more personality and have their own name set, a nickname maybe. So yeah, the first initial value should probably be unnamed. Um, this will basically, or we could write anonymous, but I will keep it as unnamed. This will make the player at first seem like unnamed. And when we know that the player has gotten that initial value for a name, in case somehow the player manages to avoid our input system, they'll still be named unnamed. So let's say we want the user to be able to type in the name, and we can easily do that by using the command readline. Um, as readline description tells us that it reads the next line of characters from the standard input stream. This will allow us to assign this value that we get when executing readline to name. Basically, readline will make the user input something into the console. and anything that is typed inside the console will become the value of the name. Do keep in mind that now when we will run our application, the user might not understand why his application stopped. If you click F5 now, this is super confusing and it feels like it got glitched, but the reality is that you can pretty much just write in and press enter, and it will set the name. So to make the user experience a lot better, we can first do write line, please insert your name and press enter. We can probably even add this character. Now we have a lot more obvious goal, and everything that is displayed tells us the instruction that we need to do. And now that I know it, I can just, let's see, we want it a bit different, Edwin. And now we can see that everything displayed has the new value. So now that we understand a bit more about inputs and outputs, basically WriteLine is an output. It outputs and gives us text on the console. Inputs are something that asks us to input a value, such as readline, read key. These are inputs. For homework, I would like you to give some personality to the player and the game. Maybe some character attributes, maybe just plain registration. Let's say that we want to add age as a thing. We could add player role. We could add maybe total games played. Maybe a player nickname. And I would like you to add some of these values to be taken from input. That means from readline. And it should set it. And when every value is set for you and it goes to displaying the values, I would like you to display a card with all the values of the player and maybe some attributes of the game. One more thing that I will have to add is that when and if you'll want to add, let's say, integer like this, keep in mind, let's say we want to get age, that it won't allow you. So for now, just copy and paste what I'm doing, but in the future, I will explain to you how it works. So basically what you need to do is write int dot parse, and this will parse you the value. So now if we try to, let's say, do this, and we ran the application, we will be able to set our age and it will display it correctly. So just write down the type dot parse. It could be a double. Double also has this method. So yeah, this just gives us an error because there's no such type. Basically, that age is an integer and we are trying to parse it to double. But if you would set it to double, let's say we have it like this, and we said that our player money will be here, we can get it like this. Okay, so good luck and see you in this solution. Okay, So my solution is quite simple. I've added some fields such as age, player role, player skill level. Well, I left favorite card. I think it gives some character to the game. Total games played, and also player nickname. Then I've added some text for the player to understand what information we need. When the player enters their name, then they have to enter their age, then they have to enter their nickname. After they are done, uh, it will display the same logo that we had, but also it will welcome me and then tell me how much money I have. And one more neat thing is that I've added this. This basically creates a sentence. So in this case, let me just show you. Mm, let's say I will just name myself the usual. I will give myself my YouTube channel nickname. And now when we look at it, what gets printed out is that we get hello Edvinas. Edvinas, your money count is $100. And this neat little sentence. Beginner player Edvinas 26 developer journey. And this is quite fluent and represents the character for the player that I wanted, at least for now. Later on, we will improve it and make it a lot more interesting. So now that we have finished with our homework, we can talk about the next tutorial, which will be coming quite soon this week. I will teach you how to use control flows. For now, we could only enter these values and set these values, but were no control. We couldn't, let's say, react to the input. If, let's say, a user wrote that they were younger than, let's say, 14, 18, whatever number, we could just tell them that they are unable to play, or maybe we would like for the player to have different variations of buttons that we have created if the player is not a beginner player, or maybe the player's role is different than a player. Maybe it's a dealer and something else might appear. So these control flows are usually known as ifs, and we will learn about them and see why they're so awesome. So see you in the next tutorial and have a wonderful developer journey.